So I'm going to just start my portion and we'll get going here. We'll just mention to everybody, anyone that's been on one of our calls before will know that we use a Pigeonhole for ongoing questions. It was in the email that was sent to you. Also, here's the information right here. Pigeonhole is a website that you can just click on and basically ask questions on the fly, and it'll actually rank the questions. So if you like a question, you can rank it up or down, and we'll ask those questions in and over and above what were submitted to you or from you from the email that we sent out. So please use that. It's too much to go in and see people raising their hand and unmute them and whatnot. So use Pigeonhole, and we'll try to have a look at that. If anything else comes up over and above the information that was shared when you sent your survey through. Just going to give you a quick update. Like we normally do. I'm going to really cut my section short because we've got quite a few people presenting from Tesla. Again, anybody that doesn't know me, we do have some new members here. My name is John Dixon. I'm the president of the Tesla Owners Club of Ontario. Obviously, you know that's what we're looking at here. Here's some growth in the last year, the last month or so. As you can see back in our meeting in January where we had the FAF auto body people on, we had 742 members then. We're up to 753. So we are still getting slow growth even though it's COVID. Our official Facebook group is what we're really tracking. There is an unofficial group, but the official group, we only admit actual members in this club. It's growing a little bit too, from 296 up to 306. Twitter's growing quite dramatically. Over 300 people, or almost 250, 300 people have added to that, and 40 or 50 added to Instagram. We have an actual focused social media process and campaigns right now every month, and I think we're getting people sign up into the club because of that, and that's also why you're seeing that grow. I also just wanted to mention to you a couple things. New members, everybody's aware, I believe, that we send out a membership kit when you sign up, and you get a window decal, a pen, a nice branded lanyard with your name tag, etc. And they are going out, or they have gone out, but we're seeing a lot of delays with Canada Post. My business does direct mail, and we talked to the post office today, and some of you may have seen in the news that the sorting facility in Mississauga has had over 300 people with COVID, and they even shut the facility down for a period of time. So stuff's running a little bit late. So bear with us. If you don't see things, say a month after you've signed up, send us an email and we'll follow it up. But everything that seems to be ultimately arriving, but just a little bit late. I also want to just focus a little bit on the questions. Just as a reminder, we did say this in the survey that went out to everybody, but when we have people from Tesla on, we want to make sure you understand that they cannot address anything to do with future product, timing of future product, including superchargers. And frankly, we did have a lot of questions along those lines, so we can't even get into that. So I would say the same thing with Pigeonhole. If you ask a question like, when's the supercharger in so-and-so city going to open up? They can't answer that. I think Steve will be talking generically about some of the challenges they face in getting superchargers online, but specifics about timing, when, that kind of thing, they can't answer. So I would suggest not to ask that within Pigeonhole, and any future meetings we have like this. Just make sure you try to tie it to the topics at hand. We did have a lot of service questions, even though this was to be a supercharger and sales sort of Zoom call, if you will. But because of that, we asked the Eastern Regional Service Manager, Dustin Leach, to come on, who will be coming on in a few minutes here, and he's going to handle some of those questions from a service side. And I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 sec here and show you real quick. I know a lot of people are probably asking us what the heck's going on with our clothing. We've been struggling to get going, and our latest delay is because Tesla changed the logo a little bit, as probably a lot of you saw. So we had to get the logo slightly redesigned so that it would print properly on embroidery and whatnot. I'm going to hold this up. This is a latest sample we've got. That patch is actually embroidered, so the white part is actually stitching, and looks pretty good, although we may change it to white stitching on the black hat. We are getting there. I know it's taking longer than we would like, but we'll get there pretty soon. So I think that's about it for my portion. I'm going to pass this over to Steve Hitchinson, who's the charging lead for, is it Eastern Region, Steve? Or all of Canada, or?
All of Canada, John.
All of Canada. There you go. And some of you may remember, Steve presented to us just prior to COVID hitting. Geez, I forgot. It was like early March. And we even, we said to anybody, if you have a cough or a sore throat, please don't come out. Nobody knew what we were going to get into. But we had our very first meeting at that convention center. Really nice meal. And Steve had a great meeting and shared some good slides with us. So we thought we'd come back and get any updates. And a lot of you being newer or weren't able to attend that meeting, we thought we'd have Steve come on. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Steve. And then when we're done, we'll go back and I'll put some questions up that Dustin's going to answer on the service side. And then I'm sure many of you are interested in hearing what the sales team has to talk to us about, especially with the new SNX refresh. So the floor is yours, Steve. Welcome.
Okay, thanks, John. And you think about 30 minutes is what we're shooting for here?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just play it by ear. We normally book it 7 till 9. So sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're a bit shorter. So there's no panic. Just see how it goes.
I'll try to keep it concise. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Can you guys all see that?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, we got together just over a year ago and spent a lot of time talking about Supercharger. I've kind of cut a lot of stuff from that slide deck, but tried to keep a few things in there just for people who are newer or who weren't at that meeting, just to give them a sense for like who we are and what we do, what we're focused on. So I kind of, just to give everyone a sense for like who is at Tesla working on Supercharger in Canada. So we are 8 people spread across the country, mostly Ontario and Quebec. We've got 2 people out west, and BC, like, I don't know how much you talk to the clubs in BC, but BC is by far like the growth hotspot for Teslas these days. So we're hiring 2 more people out west to help us out. So we'll be a team of 10, hopefully in Q1, and continue to ramp and grow going forward. My role is really to oversee anything related with charging in Canada, whether it's Supercharger or our level 2 program, which we don't do our destination charging program any longer. So most of our focus these days is on Supercharger. So we're kind of spread out all over the place. This slide we talked about last time that I kept just to give a real quick overview of what are the timelines, because this is a question we often get is, when is next Supercharger opening? And, we typically run on an 8-month is like laser, super fast. Most of our projects take 12 months to 2 years. And, often the reason why you see projects take a long time, like there's some sites that have been coming, has been they get stuck in this loop of either utility or the commercial discussions. If we're 12 months into a project and for some reason it dies, it pretty much goes back to the start. So this is kind of a typical timeline for us. Most of our times are spent on like commercial negotiations and utility work. And then once that's done, to get through construction drawings and construction is usually the easy part. So yeah, about 12 to 24 months typically for us. This is the Ontario Club, so let's really talk about Ontario. I went back to our last meeting in March and just wanted to highlight everything that's new. So the gold stars on the map are Superchargers that have opened since we last talked back in March. And as you can see from the map, a lot of what we have been focused on is coverage, right? Making sure that kind of wherever you're trying to get to, whether you're trying to get to the cottage, or you want to not take the 401 to get to Ottawa, or go skiing, or get to the lake. There's a lot of places that have been fairly inaccessible, or difficult to do round trips back and forth. So that's kind of been a priority for us, is really kind of filling out the map. for you guys. So you know, it makes it easy to get around the province. Less so focused on the urban area of in and around the GTA right now, primarily because like there are superchargers, you know, they're generally available. We are totally aware of, you know, people who just don't have access to home charging. So there is still a focus currently on expanding the, you know, the network in and around the GTA. A lot of what we've been doing, you know, since we last talked again was kind of filling out the map just to make travel easier. The only site we do have in construction right now is Orangeville. Hopefully Orange will open soon. We had to stop construction because of the stay-at-home order. We decided it's like, you know, it's best just to not have people out there working. So that site is fairly close to being done. You know, utility transformers there. Most of the work is done. So we're pretty hopeful that starting next week, we can get the contractor back on site and they can wrap up their work, and they will, you know, hopefully in this quarter, that site will open. But I think that's an important site. A lot of people pass through Orangeville. We really want to have it so if you're within, you know, 2 hours of the GTA, like that should be easily accessible. And I think that kind of definition is changing. You know, for the early adopters, you know that, you know, charging map today is amazing compared to what it was. And people are kind of willing to go out of their way if they need to. But as we get, you know, more and more new owners who are new to Tesla, who are new to electric vehicles, you know, I think their willingness to be inconvenienced is certainly less. You know, if you inconvenience them too much, you know, they're just going to go buy a regular SUV, right? So, you know, we've got to get the network to the place where, you know, no matter where you're going, you don't really have to detour and, you know, go half an hour out of your way just to charge. So that's kind of like where we want to get to for the, you know, let's say rural Ontario. That's kind of the goal, and that's the vision. I went through, we got a whole bunch of questions. I've cherry picked some of them. A lot of them are, you know, fairly repetitive, so I've kind of condensed them. So I think we can go through these. Hopefully this can give you guys some good insight. And then, you know, happy to take any other questions, John, that you have.
There's a few here, so go ahead and do
that's
these.
coming in.
I'll give you the new ones.
So I think the first one talks about destination charging, and specifically like in mall environments, restaurants, things like that. So I think there's two things to note on our destination charging program and level 2 in general. The first is like we just don't have a destination charging program anymore. We used to, as some of you know, we used to donate connectors and even subsidize the installation of level 2 connectors. We stopped doing that towards the tail end of 2019. We did continue that on in 2020 with our project with Parks Canada, where we donated, I think, 400 connectors to them to install. But going forward, you know, level 2 is really a product that you can buy from Tesla's website. We were trying to catalyze or be a catalyst to the level 2 industry, but you know, we could only give away connectors and install them for free for so long. So,
just to interrupt, yep. I know that you produced the last year or so, or maybe a bit longer, the Tesla HVWC with the J1772 connector. Are they still being produced at all, or were they just really for this destination charging program?
Yeah. That right now, I'm not sure if they're being produced, but that is a product, and we had been using that as a product that wasn't like something you could purchase, but a lot of properties, they want a J1772 in addition to the Tesla connector. So instead of going to Sun Country and buying a connector, it was much easier for us just to make our own product, which is better. So in the future, does that become a product that anybody can purchase? I'm not sure, but you know, anything's possible, I guess.
But I guess my question is, if someone, a commercial, I know that there's no support from Tesla, but a commercial property wanted to buy multiple HVACs, they could still buy J1772 as well, as far as you know?
No, not from us. It wasn't a product that we were actively selling.
Okay, it's only when you were donating them. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we were just including it with projects that we were doing.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and then the mall questions are a really interesting one, because with the urban charge post or version 2 supercharger, the dwell times being longer, it was a little easier to go in, grab a coffee, do what you need to do. But, as we transition to version 3 supercharger, and, for clarity, all we're doing going forward is version 3 supercharger. Version 2 supercharger is just not a product that we're going to install. I think we've really recognized that the best customer experience for a lot of those properties is when you have optionality. So if you need a quick charge, you can get it. If you want to go into the mall for 2 hours and sit on level 2 and not have to come out and move your car because that's inconvenient, then that's a good option to have. So like V3 supercharger speeds kind of mixed with level 2 is a great option for a lot of those kind of properties. What we see on some sites is people will sit on the supercharger for 10 or 15 minutes, and then they'll just they'll plug into level 2, and they'll go to the restaurant or they'll go to the mall. So I think that's something we'll definitely look at doing more of in the future. Version 2 supercharger sites. This is, I think, out of all the questions on the list of 75 questions, this was one of the most popular. Are we going to go back and retrofit our version 2 sites to version 3? And, the short answer is no, that's not something we're going to do. And it's primarily because it's not a simple swapping of equipment. What essentially to change a site from version 2 to version 3 would be to entirely rip the site apart and rebuild it again. So unfortunately, there's just no option for us to drop in new hardware and get those sites to version 3. So existing version 2 sites will likely stay version 2. Like maybe there might be 1 or 2 sites that for some reason there's enough reason to make a change, but they'll stay version 2, and everything going forward is going to be version 3 supercharger.
Just to clarify, Steve, when you added the 2 in Kingston, they were version 2 though because of the rest of the stalls, right?
Sorry, what's that?
In Kingston, when you added the 2, they stayed version 2 as well because of the rest of them?
Correct. Kingston stayed version 2.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and then another pretty common question around like the A's and the B's. This is something historically we've always got. So on 150 kilowatt site, which is our version 2 sites, the A and the B's do matter. So power is shared between 1A and 1B. So if somebody is only plugged into 1A, they're the only person there. The last stall you want to plug into is 1B because you're going to be sharing power with them. So generally speaking, if you can have your own number, you'll get the fastest charging speed. It used to be that, and some of you probably know, if you were there first, you basically got the preferential charge speed, and the person who plugged in second would get, like if you were drawing 120 kilowatts, that person would get the remaining 30, which is not really a great experience. So yeah. with today's firmware, the second there's 2 cars plugged in, it's shared. So if you were charging quickly, you'll see it being reduced. The other person will see a faster charging speed. It doesn't have as much of an impact on charge session as you might think. It's pretty small, but it's a better experience for everybody. There's also no difference between A and B. Like A does not do anything different than B does. They're equivalent. It's really just, is it 1 or 2 or 3? On version 3 supercharger sites, so the 250 kilowatt sites, A, B, C, D doesn't matter. They go through 4. There's 4 posts that are technically connected back to one like cabinet. So there is no power sharing. You can plug into, if someone's on 1A and you plug into 1B, you're not going to see a limitation in your charge speed because of that. The main difference between version 2 supercharger and version 3 is version 2 shares between the two posts, and version 3 supercharger, there's still power sharing, but it's across the entire site. So, think of it as a common connection point for all of the charge posts, and power can go to any one of those. So, there's very, very few situations where you could ever be in a situation where your charge speed's reduced. It could technically happen if, let's say, 12 cars pull up at 0% and you all plug in at the same time. Like, there's only so much capacity available. But generally speaking, you can plug in anywhere you want on a version 3 supercharger site, and you just don't have to worry about power sharing.
Steve, is there any way for an owner to know if it's 2 versus 3 other than the size of the cable?
Size of the cable is the biggest indicator. No, the best place to check is in the UI of the car. It will tell you if it's a 150 or a 250 site.
Okay, good to know.
But yeah, it's kind of ironic, right? Like, that more power means smaller cable.
Yeah. But they're still labeled 1A, 1B, or are they not labeled with AB on them?
Yeah, version 3s would be labeled A1A, B, C, D, and then 2A, B, C, D.
So that's kind of what you know. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. It's really just so we can identify if there's a customer complaint about a post, they can say, I'm charging at 1B, and there's something wrong with it.
Okay.
Also, a question about preconditioning. How does that work? How long does it take? Does it really make a difference? So, if you're driving an S or X, there's the battery packs are heated. If you're driving a Model 3 or Model Y, the heat is essentially coming from the electric motor. And it's only, it's a few kilowatts worth of power. So if it's really cold and you're driving 10 minutes, will it improve your charge speed? It will, but it might not really be noticeable because it takes up quite a bit of time to get the batteries to the temperature that they need to be at to get you to the best charging speed. Certainly, if you're navigating to a supercharger, you've been driving for a while, it will make sure that your battery's at the optimum temperature. But if it's a short distance and it's really cold, it won't have zero impact because it will be heating it for those 10 minutes, so you are better off, but it won't have a material impact. And the other thing to note is preconditioning also includes cooling. It's not just heating your battery. So there's always an optimal temperature at which you can charge your car. So if it's like 40 degrees in the summer and you're navigating to a supercharger, it's also going to make sure that the batteries are at the right temperature so that you get the best charge speed possible. So navigating to a supercharger is always going to get you the best charge speed you can possibly get because of preconditioning. The impact is really going to be dependent on how long you've been driving your car.
Perfect.
These were kind of like the technical questions. And then I tried to parse out the more like site-specific questions. And like John said, we won't ever say like, this supercharger is going into construction next week or this one's going to open. But I think I can share some context to give you some understanding for, what's happening on the network, what we're working on, and some of the things that you guys might have seen. So, Sherway Garden and Eaton Center slow charging, we get this sometimes, and I think this one might be that, some people don't realize that the urban charge posts can only charge at 72 kilowatts. They are designed that way. They don't go any faster. This is, another product that's been sunset. We're not installing them any longer. They were kind of more of an effort to match like dwell time in urban areas to charge speeds. So that's likely why you see those ones being slower. And then the charging in downtown Toronto is a question that we do hear this one pretty often about paid parking at superchargers. And like the reality is, where else can you park your car downtown Toronto and not pay for parking, right? There's no parking garage that's going to allow us to use their space and not collect parking revenue, because those are stalls that they are giving up. Their primary business is to collect parking revenue. So our hands are pretty tied when it comes to parking fees being levied at downtown locations. There's really no way that we can, like, you go into the garage, you press the button, you get a ticket. There's really no way that we could separate that from any other car in the parking lot. And the people who are willing to host us in those environments also just aren't willing to give up the parking revenue. So then it becomes a question of, like, do we not install any supercharging in dense urban areas because all of the parking is paid? There's always going to be situations where, people need to charge in these environments. And I think, paying for parking is just something that comes along with it. If there's any opportunities to put things not behind a paywall, that's certainly the place we look to first, but just not always possible in those environments. And there's several questions about sites that are on our Find Us map, and the only one the two that I use as an example being Orangeville and Newmarket. There are others. So there are sites that they were on our Find Us map. They had been there for quite some time, and they're no longer on our Find Us map. And I think we've got quite a few questions about that. And this is really in an effort to make the Find Us map better. I think, like, we read the forums, like, we very much know that I think people have lost confidence in the Find Us map because there have been sites that have been there for years. And the expectation is, like, Tesla will eventually build it, but there's, again, no confidence in the dates. And that usually, when there's sites that have been on the Find Us map for a long time and haven't progressed, is because, we have been working on a site for 1 to 2 years. For some reason that didn't go forward, and then we're back to square one. But that site is still on our map. So what we're doing going forward is providing, like, a 12-month look ahead. The Find Us map will update quarterly, and the goal is for it to be a lot more accurate. Like, we are saying these sites are expected to open in any particular quarter, and that might still move around. I think when you're looking 1 or 2 quarters out, that should be pretty accurate. When you're looking 4 quarters out, like, that could move forward or backwards by a quarter, depending on, how projects progress. But the ultimate goal of making those changes was to, like, instill confidence again in the Find Us map. So sites that have disappeared, it doesn't mean we're not working on them any longer. It just means that, based on its current, current maturity and where it's at in the process, we just don't have the confidence to put it on the map and put a date on it. So I wouldn't worry that a site that you saw disappear is something that's not going to happen any longer. Like, it's possible in the next quarter, when we update it again, that site comes back, because it is now at a point where we can show it. And then you have really good visibility into what's coming and when it's going to open. And we're going to really try to do our best to make sure that we hit those dates. So that's kind of the rationale on the map. I put Orangeville down here as an example. It'll give you the target opening. It would be really cool if we could actually label the sites that are in construction, so you guys can see that. We're always fine to talk about sites in construction. We just won't commit to an opening date and don't talk about sites prior to getting in construction. A couple other ones that I thought were just worth touching on. The stuff in Saskatchewan and Alberta. I know this is an Ontario meeting, but, like, this is another question we get fairly commonly, because people love to road trip. We just opened a service center in Saskatoon. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's actually beautiful. Like, we're jealous of Saskatoon's Tesla retail location. So, like, there's definitely a renewed emphasis on, getting those routes open. Cybertruck's coming. It's going to be a big deal out there. So I'd say, like, on the priority list, those are pretty high. As you look across the country, our priorities are really to, like, connect the parts of the country that you can't get to yet. Like, yes, TransCanada's done. There's still work to do in the Maritimes. There's still work to do in the prairies. We want to get to the point where 95% of people can take the trips that they need to take. And then, getting that last 5% is always going to be the hardest. But certainly, like, we're still really focused on that part of our goal to connect the country. Orangeville, mentioned it earlier, but I think that site would probably be open if we didn't have to shut down because of COVID. Hoping that they're back to work next week and they can wrap things up. There's not a tremendous amount of work left to do on that site. So probably within a week, I'd say, of getting started, they'll be done construction. And then it's just a matter of how fast can we get the utilities on site and get it inspected and, get our awesome service team to go out and get it commissioned. That's where a lot of sites kind of sit. Like, we have sites that they get to the point where we're done and we're waiting on the utility to energize us. And usually that happens pretty fast, but sometimes it's out of our control at that point. And then Brockville, like, I had to have a special place for Brockville. I think this is actually the first slide when we talked last year, like, what's happening in Brockville and Kingston. Like, we know that, like, this is probably our highest priority in Ontario, is that Eastern Ontario stretch. It's just been like one issue after another, kind of out of our control in terms of sites not progressing. There's utility capacity issues in that area. So we're continuing to work through that. We do feel like pretty confident in being able to solve this in 2021. Kingston, we like scrambled to add 2 stalls in Kingston just because we could. I know it's only 2, but it is like 30. It's a third more capacity, so it should help a little bit. And then we know we need more capacity in Kingston. We know Brockville's important, so I think that's my message. We hear you. We're working hard on those sites, but, like, there's always a site that's the hardest, and unfortunately for us, it's been Brockville. That's it for the questions I pulled, John. Is there any other ones that you try to answer?
Let me just have a look here. Somebody's asked, and then 6 people voted for it, so everybody likes this question. What criteria is used to determine where a supercharger is to be installed and located?
Mm-hmm. So I think there's the macro level. So in like rural, let's say outside GTA, it's what are like the strategic locations, like Peterborough, for example. A lot of people are going to pass through Peterborough, whether they're going on to Ottawa or they're going up to Cottage Country, or places like Orangeville. So we try to look for, like, what are the most common places that people pass through, try to make sure we have stations there. And then in urban areas, I think we had always been focused on being close to highways, so that you kind of get this kind of double duty of it serves people, traveling through the GTA corridors, and it can also be a site that people can locally use. I think going forward, we're going to start to look off highways into, like, urban pockets more and more, because that really helps to solve the condo charging problem. And then at a site-specific level, it's all about, like, don't be too close to an entrance. It's too busy. The stalls will get iced. And then, try to be close to good amenities that people can get a coffee, go to the washroom, or get something to eat.
Okay, perfect. How hard are superchargers on Tesla batteries? I don't know if we have to also go to Dustin here, but for instance, how would 0% use of a supercharger versus 50%? Sorry, I just bumped up on my, where'd it go?
Yeah, I can take that one, John, because honestly, I'm not the right person to give a clear answer on that one. That really gets into, like, battery degradation, and maybe someone like Dustin might know more. But in general, like, I think we just advise to, like, follow the recommendations from Tesla in terms of, like, stay within 20 to 80% or 20 to 90%, whatever the current guidance is. And, is supercharging, like if you were to supercharge 100% versus zero, it would be harder on the batteries, but
No.
I can't tell you if you do it 50% or put any numbers beside it. I simply just don't know.
Okay, no worries. We can come back to Dustin maybe on that. What's the best email to send for supercharger malfunctions?
Yeah, so right now that's a great question because I think we recognize the current system is not great. That currently there's the phone number on the side of the supercharger, which is really the conduit to reporting issues. We're looking at ways to make this a much easier process for drivers. So if they spot an issue, they can quickly get in contact with Tesla and provide that feedback. That's not something that we have now, but we recognize that that's something that we need.
This is more of a comment. You just may want to make a note of this. Kawartha east of Lake Simcoe is needed. GTA to say Halliburton and back is not possible. Mm-hmm. That's just, we sort of talked about that.
Yeah, and that's very much where we've been focused on, enabling those kind of routes. We recognize the importance, and I think you see that in the map based on where we've been putting sites.
The new navigation display shows available stalls charging. Once you enter your supercharger destination, that goes away. Interesting.
I haven't supercharged, honestly, since we made that update, so I haven't experienced that.
Okay, well, maybe you could just follow up on that when you get a chance.
Sure.
What kind of issues have been instrumental delaying the putting of chargers along the northern shore of the St. Lawrence River heading to Newfoundland and Labrador?
Yeah, like where specifically? On the rock or to get there?
I'm just saying on the way.
Okay.
On the
so to get from like Halifax to the ferries, I would say it's kind of.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Sorry, as I answer, they jump up.
Or did you say north of the St. Lawrence?
Yeah, along the northern shore of the St. Lawrence River, heading into Newfoundland and Labrador.
Okay. That's an interesting one. I would say it's comes down to priorities. This is where, like, as we're getting more and more into like the fringe of the network, that's where we're talking about the last 5%. That it's a huge investment, and we're making those big investments. So we're going to focus on like where the priorities are highest, and we still want to make sure you can get anywhere in the country. But like we are trying to follow like a logical kind of priority list. And
okay.
Yeah, I would say that.
Just one more in the interest of time, because we've got to move on here with Dustin and the sales team who are waiting here patiently. This person is asking, on destination chargers, how are these reported to Tesla to be added to the map? An example being Pembroke as 2 at the Holiday Inn, which don't appear. Mm-hmm. So how do we get Tesla to put it onto the map?
Yeah, that's we should be able to do. I can follow up with you on some, like, I'll find the latest. There's been like the level 2 team has changed. The email addresses have changed for things like this. So we could take that as an action item for if there are sites with Tesla connectors that want to be on the map, how we can get them on.
Yeah, and I would say in a case like this, that there's one specific, but if there's others, email me and I'll send it on to you guys, right?
Yeah. And then final, I think closing comment, if anybody has any connections in Eastern Ontario, like you've got a friend who owns a property in Brockville or Kingston, like pass them our way, please.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, Steve, listen, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and effort, especially after hours here. And Steve and I talk quite often, and he's a really great guy, very informative, very cooperative. So thanks very much, and we'll have you on again later on in the year.
Yeah, I think it's good to do at least once a year, maybe twice. We can check in on how things are going, answer new questions. Happy to do it.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Steve. So I'm going to go to back to my screen here. And Dustin, are you on? Paul, is Dustin unmuted?
I'm just looking.
Can you hear me okay, John?
Yeah, there we go. Super.
Yeah, how's it going? Sorry, it's a bit
Very
late
good.
today.
No worries
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah,
Steve did a good job jumping in there ahead of you, so all good. So guys,
he's always more interesting than me anyway.
So Dustin has presented to us a couple of times in person, and again, Dustin and I correspond a lot. Actually, before we go into these questions on the screen, I'm just going to go through some of these that have come through recently on our little Pigeonhole app, okay? And some of these
Sure.
you may not know. Someone is asking, do you know if the 4680 dry cell battery is going into any Tesla vehicles at all this year, basically, between February and April, especially?
I wouldn't be able to comment on that. I'm not entirely sure. Sorry.
Didn't think so. No worries. Some of this might tie into the questions you've already got. Person has a 2016 Model S, received the email recall from Tesla to replace the eMMC. If you were to pay for the upgrade from MCU1 to MCU2, how does that affect the replacement of the eMMC?
Sorry, can you read that? So they're going to upgrade, they're going to do the infotainment upgrade?
Yeah, well, basically, they've received the email to replace the eMMC at no cost.
Yeah.
So then they're asking, but if they also decide to pay themselves to go from 1 to MCU2, how does that affect the replacement of the eMMC?
So with the infotainment upgrade, it's a completely different unit.
But I don't think it's the entertainment. I think they're talking about the chip, the chip upgrade that was causing the screen to go black. So that's going to be done free. What they're asking, if they go from if they want to upgrade their whole MCU.
Yeah, it's a completely different unit. So the eMMC chip is built into the board of the
there's
VCM.
No credit or anything necessarily?
No.
Okay. Again, hopefully you can answer this. Some people have noticed the new heat pump equipped Teslas are scavenging heat from the battery such that power limit starts at much higher state of charge than previous due to colder battery. Is that a software fix that's coming?
Yeah, I'd have to look into that one. If you want to send me that one, John, I could probably get more detail on that.
Okay. Paul, I'm not sure what happens to these questions on Pigeonhole, but if you could try to capture them or make sure that we've got some of these. I can't remember if we retain them or not.
Yeah, we'll get them to the end.
Has anyone upgraded from MCU 1 to 2? I believe they have. Do you know what the cost is to do that and how long it takes?
Yeah, I think it's around $2,000. There's a recent price adjustment on that. It's a fairly compelling upgrade as well. If you search Tesla infotainment upgrade on our website, it'll line you up all the different features between the two. The most notable being it's a little bit snappier, which doesn't sound like a lot until you're using it all the time. So it's a fairly substantial upgrade to do. So it's actually quite popular. We see it quite a bit. So I recommend it if you're planning on keeping the car for a while. It's a nice, sounds like a small change, but it's actually, you use your user interface quite a bit. So it's a really nice upgrade.
Yeah, I to jump in, I did it on my car. It's great. It feels like a new car.
What are you driving, Steve?
I have a Model S.
Okay, perfect. There's a direct, Matt, are you not, Matt V is raising his hand. Can you please use Pigeonhole, Matt? It's a lot easier for us, frankly. So Dustin, I'll just read what's on the screen here. I think you've already seen these, but I'll read them for everybody. Prior to the recent over-the-air update, cruise control and full self-driving speed setting could be adjusted in increments of 5 kilometers per hour by holding the plus or minus sign on the screen. After the update, the plus and minus symbols are gone, and the speed setting can only be adjusted by scrolling the right thumb wheel 1 kilometer at a time. Is there any other way to make those type of adjustments in a Model 3?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why they moved the buttons, because I use them a lot, but if you spin it at a slightly higher speed, you should see it start to jump by 5 kilometers per hour.
So it's a tactile thing is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly.
On the last 10 plus software updates, the games on my Tesla are still waiting for update, even when the self-service team pushes the software. When will this be fixed on a Model S?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact VIN, and I could look into the details if you run into a roadblock, if they shoot you the VIN, but what we do when we push the software, sometimes it'll still be on a Wi-Fi delay. So if you're not getting it, if you connect to Wi-Fi, then it'll start to download the software. So that could be it. But if it's not, John, if you want to send me the VIN, I could definitely have one of our technicians look into it.
Whoever submitted that, send me the info, and I'll send it on to Dustin. Do you know if summer tires will be on sale for the Model Y anytime soon? Specifically looking for the black turbine wheels. That's two different questions.
They're not. Yeah, they're not selling on the shop yet. But if you contact a service center, we can order them. So there's no like set packages yet, but we can order the wheels and tires as a separate assembly.
This phone, or can they do that through the app, or?
You can make an appointment saying, "Hey, I just want to buy parts." We can get to it that way. Okay. Anytime you want to contact service, if you make an appointment, what it does, it falls into our queue to review. So there's a team that sits there all day reviewing all the inbound appointments. And if it's just the parts, they can get more info from you. Or you could email the service center.
Okay, perfect. Is there any update on the Model X, Model S Gen 1 media unit recall timing?
So right now the parts are in limited supply. So if you have an issue where the screen doesn't recover with a reboot of the scroll wheels, then give us a call. It could be related to that. We have a few of the parts. I don't have timing on when we have all the parts, but we're going to be sending out a second communication when we have enough supply to call people to do it. I know we're also trying to see if we can do it mobile. There's a few different things we're trying to make that as easy as possible for everyone.
Okay, great. This is maybe to do with what we recently saw in our apps. When calling insurance in the unfortunate event of a collision, what advice can you give on having the repair done at Tesla versus a third-party body shop now that Tesla is taking on minor collision repairs? Would Tesla service arrange to transfer your car to a third-party body shop if they cannot repair the damage?
Yeah, the easy thing to do is make an appointment with some photos because we can see if we can do it. The stuff we're really good at is mostly bolt-on panels. So we can get painted bumpers from the factory, painted hoods, occasionally painted doors, and that works really well. And oftentimes we're a lot cheaper than third-party shops that might have to respray it. And then, yeah, so those are kind of the ones we do. And if you're ever unclear, if it's a major collision, that's not something that we can handle at our service centers, but minor bumps and scrapes, bolt-on panels, even fenders we can do from time to time. So best to send us some photos. We'll have a look, and we'll definitely see if we can help out.
Because I think you're actually quite often stocking the bumpers, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of that stuff in stock. So,
okay, perfect. Good to know. Person is asking about brakes. When should the brakes be changed or serviced? I drive a 2015 that has over 180,000 kilometers on it. Yeah,
the brakes last a long time. We recommend an annual service once a year or 20,000 kilometers. All the corrosion and salt, the brake pads need to move freely. And what happens is the corrosion can seize up. And when they don't move freely, they might start wearing out quicker than they should. So good thing to do when you put your tires on or you do your winter tire swap or summer tire swap. See if we can do a brake service at the same time. Then it's a great time once a year. And keeps everything moving nice. If your brake pedal ever feels like really weird or spongy, that's usually a sign that the brake pedals or the brake pads are seized up a little bit.
So this question is a little bit bigger. Can you talk about initiatives being implemented now and in the near future to address the various documented complaints about service with regular monotony on websites such as Tesla Motors Club?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we recognize that at Tesla, there's obviously areas to improve. So a couple of things we're doing, expanding our network as quick as we can. So we've got some new centers in Toronto that we're working on. We're working on some projects in Ottawa. We've got feelers out in probably every major city in Canada. So a lot of expansion going on. If you have great properties, like let us know. Tesla's always looking. We've also expanded rapidly. I mean, obviously, I think most businesses probably had to put a hold on things during the pandemic a little bit, but we've really been building our workforce and spending a lot of time training. So yeah, you're probably seeing a lot of new faces so we can staff up, really trying to make sure that service is more readily available. And then constant app improvements to really streamline the process flow. And we really monitor why people contact us in the first place. And we're really trying not to make the contact easier, but to try and eliminate the need for the contact in the first place. So app optimization. I know it feels like it's probably not going fast enough, but we are really trying to make that a lot more seamless for everyone.
Okay, great. This person is asking, is it practical, economical, or even possible to have a new battery pack installed when an old one fails? 2016 Model S 85D driver.
Yeah, you could do it. Very easy to change. Whether it's practical or not, depending on the car value, I think they go around $25,000-$30,000, somewhere around there at the moment. Tesla is obviously looking to reduce the price over time. So it'd be up to the driver if that makes sense, but you can always get a price.
When he says ones fail, I mean, it's going to be pretty catastrophic to have a 2016 Model S with the whole pack fails, right? So
it's very rare. I have not seen a pack replaced. I've never seen a customer pay for a pack replacement because their pack wore out, and I've been at the company 11 years. So just not something I've seen. Have I seen them replaced because of like a mass collision? Seen something like that, sure, but not for like wear and tear.
Okay. Sorry. This person is having issues with their heat going off. Are you aware of this issue? I'm not sure which vehicle, possibly Model Y, but could you comment on that?
Yeah, some of the earlier Model Ys, there was a firmware issue with the heat pump that we're reviewing. So if you got it and you just can't get a heat to work, give us a shout. We can definitely check it out, or make sure you're on the latest firmware. The other thing is, it's been pretty cold like lately, and when you get those, minus 20 days or minus 15 days, everyone has a tendency to put the fan on high, and you're almost working against yourself a little bit when you do that, because the cold air coming into the cabin is really cooling down the cabin condenser there that's trying to heat up at the same time. So if you can, relax on the fan a little bit, or use the auto setting, and it tempers that fan, so it helps get the heat into the cabin a little bit quicker.
And I would think one of the most important things is also to condition the car from your app, even if it's not plugged in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, for sure.
What can be done by Tesla to improve their service experience and timing? I had my Model Y in service for just under a month for a small dent on the door. It was inconvenient, and Tesla never offered any compensation for it.
Yeah, maybe you could send me the details of that one. That sounds, I don't know if that was a Tesla shop or a third-party shop, but usually a dent is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Okay.
If it was Model Y, like collision, and the car, new model hits the field, it takes a little bit for us to ramp up parts, but they're mostly in really good supply now. So I've seen very few constraints there.
Okay. So anybody someone that submitted that, for example, just send me the criteria. I'll get that on to Dustin. The person.
And anyone in the group, like, John, that I really care, like, that we're treating people right. So, if you guys feel that you were not done right by a service center or something, like, shoot your name to John, and John will send it to me. I'll definitely take a look and review and make sure that everyone's having a good experience and a really fair experience. That really matters to me.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. Dustin's very cooperative and very interested, and there's a lot of owners on the road now, so it's pretty hard to do perfection with every single situation. But and Dustin's probably either the oldest or the second oldest employee with Tesla. Are you not in Canada? In Canada,
yeah. Well, the oldest guy is he's at a different company now, so technically oldest. Yeah.
This is pretty generic, but asking about the MCU recall notice. Can you tell us more about it? So basically, the recall is just the eMMC, though, is it not?
Yeah, it's not the whole unit. So there's a little chip, and we replace a little circuit board inside. Doesn't take too long to do, and then we run firmware. So we change it from an 8 gigabyte chip to a 64 megabyte chip, so a little bit more robust. You won't really notice before we do it and after we do it. So it's not a big change there. The concern is that when the chip wears out, the screen would go blank and it wouldn't recover from a touchscreen reset. When that happened, you might lose your climate control or your camera. The latest firmware, however, starts to recognize that wear. It'll default the camera and the climate control settings on the screen. So if you see it kind of locked on there, that's an indication it could be worn out or on its way to wear out. So let us know if you are seeing that. And so it prevents that from happening. But the new firmware will give you a really good heads up that might happen. So there's that. And then the big difference is if it doesn't recover, there's a lot of reasons the screen could go blank, not always related to this chip, but give the screen a reset. And if that doesn't recover it, or you're seeing that happen persistently, let us know so we can have a deeper look at what it could be.
So your earlier comment where you're waiting for parts, that was more the whole MCU, right? From 1 to 2? Or was it?
No, it's for the eMMC chip. We don't have it. We're only doing it right now if you've got a situation where the screen's not recovering. We've got limited supply. We're going to be getting proactive and reaching out to people to get it done. But if you've got no issues with your screen, I hold off on letting us know because we don't have the parts for that. If you want to do an infotainment upgrade, we've got parts for that because it's very similar to the units in the newer Model S and X. Not the brand new, but
yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is a pretty general question. Original legacy owners of 2018 Model 3 had their car for 2.5 years now. Curious what issues, if any, have arisen with their cars. For example, this person's charging door suddenly stopped opening on an intermittent basis. Tesla Mobile found the gears of the open door had fallen down and weren't catching. They replaced the entire door unit free of charge. I mean, my comment, first of all, I first want you to address it, is Tesla's continually upgrading and changing their cars and their parts all the time anyhow. So as soon as they notice problems, they're always improving, right? So,
yeah, I mean, constantly, it makes no sense for us to want to see you come back in for service, especially you're like under warranty. It's just like really bad for us. It's bad for you. It's not great. So continually, a lot of the time, the part that's going back on the car is a slightly improved version of the part that might come off.
We saw that with the S and X too. I mean, this all kinds of little things where the changes were made over time, and if you're having issues and problems, usually you get the upgrade to that new part. So, Same thing. Repair center screen. We'll skip over that. Same thing. And do you have any idea if Tesla's going to offer the older Model 3 vehicles the ability to upgrade to a power liftgate?
I haven't seen it out yet. I know they're reviewing that one, and there was a question in there about the boombox. I know both are under a review. I don't know if they're going to get released or not, but I hope so. They're pretty nice features. So we'll obviously send out a note if they are.
Does that apply to the pedestrian warning system as well?
Yeah, that's under review too. Like Elon really listens to his tweets. So if you want a feature, it's a good way to get it. A
lot of that is depends on when it was built, right? Some might just need a speaker and software. Some might need a whole wiring harness, etc.
Yeah, some of the models are kind of different. It's not like a plug and play on everything, but I can see the appeal of boombox. It's pretty fun.
There's another question here. Basically, it's already been handled. Why was the print size on the bottom of the dash shrunk in the last software update? Well, none of us know that. That was somebody did that, but it's already been corrected. Correct?
Yeah. I think it changed. I don't know exactly which one they're referring to, but yeah, there's been some changes there. But yeah, if you have any feedback, John, or the owners group's got any feedback, like let me know on the firmware. The team's always looking for feedback. I think there was a really nice thread when they updated the UI, and a lot of folks didn't like all the negative space. Like that's really good feedback to get. So keep that coming.
Great. Almost done here. Let me just see here. Anything about heated steering wheel?
I know they're reviewing that one too. I don't know if it's feasible. There's a few different, like there's a controller depending on the build date, so it's not a plug and play, unfortunately.
What about they're asking about a pop-up warning for the 12-volt battery? Well, that does pop up, but can you comment when it pops up? Does it normally indicate how much time you have left on the battery?
Yeah, you've got a bit of notice there. It doesn't pop up and then it happens. So you got a bit of notice. So if you see that, let service know. We'll try and get out there with a mobile visit, provided we can. And like right now, for sure, I know a lot of folks aren't driving too much, but we're still open and our folks are out and about. And if your car's sitting in your driveway and you've been putting stuff off, just like let us know, and we'd be happy to come help out where you can in a very touchless way.
Okay. Another question here about local service centers. They're saying that they seem more reluctant to provide a loaner vehicle and instead only offer an Uber voucher. So is there a way to secure a loaner in advance of the appointment, or how does that work basically, whether they get a loaner or not?
It would depend on how long the car might be in service for, like, 1 day or 1 or 2 day, probably geared towards third-party rideshare or get dropped off. If it's going to be 2+ days, probably we do our best to get you in a car. And if we have the cars, we'll give them out. If we don't, it's a lot of first come, first serve. So those things, but seeing what the day looks like, we try and reserve them for folks that are going to be out of their car for maybe a couple days or something like that. But the short visits, we try and use Uber credits.
The only comment I would make is I've seen the odd person complain where they live fairly far from a service center. And if their car needs to be gone for a couple of days, it's not practical to take an Uber back to Aurelia or something like that. So
yeah, not for
how far away they live.
Yeah, not for us either. Just put it in the notes. If you can, if you say, hey, I'm coming from out of town, you know what I mean? Like, let us know. Like, give us a heads up on that. It may sound stupid, but the address screen is not exactly sometimes on the same comm screen. So reminding us, your situation is always very helpful. Or like, hey, I got 3 kids in tow. You know what I mean? And that's super helpful to us.
Okay, super. Well, Dustin, I think that's it. Listen, I really appreciate you coming on last minute. It wasn't originally planned to have you on there, but a lot of service questions, related questions came through. So thanks very much for jumping on last minute here and helping us out. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, thanks so much. Anytime you got any feedback, John, let us know. Like I said, COVID's pretty tricky, but if anybody needs anything on their car, we're there. We're ready. So
okay,
just
perfect.
let us know.
Thanks
okay,
again.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so Rami, thanks for being patient. Rami and Michael, you should be able to share your screen now.
Yeah, not a problem, John. First of all, following up heavyweights, Steve and Dustin will be a little bit a little bit fun for us here, but it's our first time, Mike and I, on a call like this, so it's fantastic to see everybody. Actually, just going through the tiles of everybody's camera feeds up top. Seeing obviously John and Issei, Lloyd, Milos, Najib, Eva, George. Great to see you guys. Greg, Paul, 2 more Pauls as well. So many faces that we haven't seen in a while. But it's great to see everybody on Zoom here, and we're happy to answer some of the questions. I will say, though, there were a ton of great questions. A lot of them actually ended up overlapping with Steve and Dustin as well. They were related to maybe charging or service. So I'm glad we got some of the answers already. But let me go ahead and share my screen here.
So Rami's been with the company quite a long time, folks. Many of you probably know him, and he's the store manager in Oakville. Michael's a team lead or something, Rami?
Michael's actually one of our senior Tesla advisors. He's been with the company for a few years. But Mike, why don't you chime in there a little bit?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on this call this evening. I work alongside Rami at the Oakville location, senior Tesla advisor, you could say there. Rami and myself today should be answering and focusing on some sales related questions. So we'll dive into that a little bit as we open up here. Good to see some familiar faces, though.
Excellent. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yeah, we can. Great.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right. So just give me 1 sec while I open this up right here. Perfect. So lots of great questions, and I thought maybe we'd start with everything that's not related to the latest, most fun, highest tech upgrade of the Model S and X. We've had the most technologically advanced cars on the road, upping only itself. So maybe we'll start with some non-Model S and X refresh questions, get those sort of cleared and out of the way, and then we can move on to the fun stuff. So, all right. So let's get started here. Actually, Mike's going to chime in on the first bunch of questions, and then I'll jump in for the next ones. Just a small disclaimer sort of before we start, as John mentioned at the very top, it's hard for us to comment or speculate on a lot of stuff that we just frankly don't have information on, like future products, Cybertruck release dates and CCS combos and things like that. But I think we're all subscribed to Elon's Twitter feed and we'll be getting those updates as they come out. So we'll do our best answering as much as we can here for you. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Remy. So thank you to everybody that took some time to submit some questions here. We had some fantastic questions that have come through that I wanted to really cover with everybody. First one here being, what is the current order timeline for Model Y? Great question. So we at Tesla, if you called in to Tesla Oakville and I answered the phone and you asked me this question, I would basically give you one of two options or two options and you choose one. We currently have inventory of Model Ys. So these are units that are on the ground. They already exist. We already have a VIN number for them. You could purchase one of these vehicles directly through an advisor and then take delivery within as little as 24 hours. So this idea of waiting months or weeks to get a Tesla really isn't the case anymore. So there are inventory cars ready for immediate delivery for Model Y. If we don't have anything in inventory that matches your desired configuration, we would do a custom order, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with as well, where we would just place a deposit for a certain configuration and then the factory in California would build that for us. Should we go that route instead, that usually takes about 4 to 8 weeks to take delivery, but it can depend on when in the quarter you order. Here in Canada, we tend to get cars at the end of each quarter, so we're expecting a bunch to come in March of this year. On that note, HEPA filter and heated steering wheel in Model 3 and Model Y. We kind of have a little quick answer for us here. We don't have any news on heated steering wheel in Model 3 at this point. There are Model Ys delivering with heated steering wheel. HEPA air filter, we also don't have any news, unfortunately, yet. We're seeing here, if you have an existing Model Y order, the best thing to do, find out if your vehicle has a heated steering wheel, is to reach out to your local Tesla store, speak with your Tesla advisor or delivery advisor, and they'd be able to confirm if your Model Y has a heated steering wheel. 7-seat interiors should be delivering this quarter as well. But as far as heated steering wheel on Model 3 or HEPA filter, we don't have any answers for that right now, unfortunately. Again, question 3 there about 7-seat interior, kind of just chatted about that, but that is delivering right around March of this year. I don't think we have any inventory yet, but we are taking custom orders for that. A couple questions about Cybertruck that we had. We kind of wanted to summarize it in this question here. Cybertruck is expected, based on Elon's kind of Twitter feed, which we go to for a lot of our answers, not anytime soon. So we're anticipating maybe by the end of next year. Again, timelines consistently change at Tesla. So if you want the latest up-to-date timelines, either check the Tesla website or Elon's Twitter feed to get an update there. Coconuts and ice cream truck music is great, but can we have ultrasonic sound options for reducing animal collisions, and how to relay suggestions? So this is an awesome question, really thinking outside of the box here. Love to see that from you guys. So I would invite anybody with suggestions or inquiries to reach out directly to Elon on Twitter. Although he may not answer every tweet, he does take a look at a lot of the suggestions that come through. So I would definitely recommend reaching out there to get some great visibility. The other nice thing
let me just jump in there, Mike. I guess you can send them to me, and we have a contact for the clubs down in Fremont. I can forward it to them as well.
Yeah, there you go. That's fantastic, guys. So utilize John as well to send those his way. The great thing about posting them on Twitter as well is that, you know, if a lot of people agree with what you're saying, there's some visibility there, which is fantastic. Beautiful. Overnight test drives. As much as we love doing these, unfortunately, with everything going on right now, obviously these aren't much of an option. We did them in the past. I can confirm that we'll be bringing them back again in the future. It's just a matter of when we're able to do so based on OMVIC guidelines. As far as what we can do on test drives,
just so everybody knows, OMVIC is the regulatory body for car dealerships.
Right. So we adhere to OMVIC quite a bit for everything that we do. For example, right now our test drives are only a maximum of 10 minutes long with a maximum of 2 people in the car. So obviously, as these OMVIC guidelines change over time, we'll be able to host overnight test drives again. I know earlier in this year or late last year, we were reaching out and offering these, and then those guidelines changed, but we absolutely will be offering them again. Next question here regarding trade-in values. So a lot of questions kind of centered on where we get our values from. You know, there's this idea of poor values as well coming from Tesla specifically. But as all of you are familiar with, Tesla doesn't operate the way a traditional dealer does. We do not resell gas cars that people trade in. They go right to wholesale. So we're consistently using competitive market values to value our trade-in vehicles and then pass them along to wholesale for sale. Again, obviously, we're not selling gas cars. Typical dealers will obviously at times have higher margins when you trade in a vehicle because they're profiting on that vehicle again when they resell it.
Michael,
Which
if I could just jump in here, I think,
yeah,
and this may be tough to answer, but bluntly, a lot of the questions are around trading in a Tesla on another Tesla. We've had somebody within our club a couple of years ago got a trade value was so low, he was able to get double the value by selling it privately. And I just had a value put on my 2020 long range Model X. And again, bluntly, I was insulted with the value. So
yeah. I mean, I know Remy would have a point to say here as well, so we can defer to him in a moment. What I would say is that, Tesla, we know our vehicles better than anyone, I would say. A lot of people can find that they can maybe list their cars or sell them privately for more. But Tesla, we don't see that car actually being sold for that value, right? We use our own data. Ramy, do you want to jump in on that point a little bit there?
Yeah, actually, just to maybe shed a little bit of insight, because obviously, for us on the sales side, to put it bluntly, I think for everybody on the call, obviously our values and sort of our interests are aligned with you guys as the owners. I mean, why wouldn't we necessarily want to, be able to get anyone into a new Tesla, or maybe replace one that's a few years old now, and get you guys into the latest and greatest updates that we have, and we actually submit and get current owners submitting trade-in values to us all the time. It's something we do, I can say with confidence. Every advisor does it probably a couple handful times a day. And John, I am familiar with your most recent trade-in value as well, myself. So, and
I brought it up with Jamie, but anyhow.
Yeah, I know. I know you and I have worked on a few deals as well together. So, so I can sort of share with you a little bit about how Tesla's trade-in values are done. And I think some of you actually might already have a little bit of an idea. Basically, Tesla's trade-in values are algorithmic. What that means is Tesla in California, our trade-in teams, they have a program, internal developed algorithm that basically takes the information on a Tesla VIN that's submitted, decodes it, and effectively produces a number. Now, the factors that go into that are several fold. Obviously, there's things like mileage, age of the car, and condition based on the photos that are submitted. And now actually a change that was made a few months ago, and some of you may have noticed this if you've submitted a trade-in request for a Tesla recently, is that we actually do mandatorily require photos now of Tesla trade-ins. It wasn't the case in the past. A couple of years ago, it was only after a certain potential value that we required images of the car. But now we require pictures on all Tesla trades. And then there's some other factors that go into it based on perhaps obviously the options on the car. And I can confirm that every single option on the car, including FSD, does add value to the vehicle. Contrary to belief, in some cases, but even paint, wheels, anything that was originally ordered on the vehicle or delivered on the vehicle will provide to that value. And Elon actually, I think on the most recent earnings call, confirmed that that FSD piece too. So besides that, though, the factors that mainly go into sort of how the vehicles are valued according to the algorithm that our trade-in or remarketing team uses are really based on, as Michael alluded to, the market data. So what does that mean for Tesla local market data? That's simply put based on the used cars that we ourselves are selling for the prices that they are selling at. So effectively, similar to non-Tesla trade-ins, our trade-in team uses software tools and industry used tools that Mike mentioned as well to look at the local wholesale market, pull up cars that are similar in age, similar in mileage, and other factors. What have they sold for recently? and then values the cars based on that. It's very similar for Tesla trades as well, except the market data that we use, simply put, because Tesla sells the overwhelming majority of used Teslas on the used Tesla market, it's our own data. So as Mike mentioned, I mean, Tesla knows what the prices are for every single used Tesla that we sell, and a lot of that goes into valuing those cars. So, you know, in most cases, whether it's a Tesla or a gas car or an ICE vehicle, you know, private sales will definitely net more. And there's no beating around the bush, honestly, with the fact that COVID's had an impact across the board for all used cars. But it is sort of algorithmic based on the data that Tesla has on its own used car market that way. So hopefully that sheds a bit more light.
The last thing I'll just mention on the trade thing, which I know you probably can't answer, but I'm going to bring it up again. It's been
absolutely
a contentious topic for years and years and years, is courtesy trades. So in other words, if the person's not happy, whether it be an ICE vehicle or a Tesla, but their value, and they find their own buyer, Tesla used to allow that vehicle to be put through Tesla's system so that they could get the tax credit on it. And Tesla doesn't allow that anymore, even for a fee. And I can tell you, FYI, that is contradictory to what every other manufacturer and most dealers do. They will do it normally for no cost because they know it helps them sell a car. So you might want to just pass it up the chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something we've actually been discussing and is under review almost consistently all the time. But you're right. We actually used to do it free of charge. Then there was a fee that was implemented for it, an administrative cost. But then sort of, I think the review internally was that we were just going to stop doing it. But yeah, I will definitely take that on, and you know, having that come from the Owners Club directly, I think adds definitely more weight to it. So you know, this is feedback that we're passing on consistently there, John.
Perfect.
And I think it'll be super useful too. It would, to be blunt with you guys, it will help us sell more cars as well. So it's something that we would want to.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Remy, for jumping in there. Next one here, guys, a little bit on the energy side, which obviously isn't huge in Canada yet. When will Powerwall and Solar Roof be available in Canada? So most people aren't aware, but Powerwall is actually readily available. You can order that right online through the Tesla website. We'd have an advisor reach out to you and arrange the delivery and the purchasing of that Powerwall. So that is readily available. As far as Solar Roof, though, that we don't have any news for in Canada as of yet. We should be seeing something soon over the next couple months, next couple quarters, hopefully. But I would recommend staying up to date with the Tesla website, which I'm sure all of you are, for more energy updates in Canada. Yeah.
Michael, do you normally then know if the person puts an order in for a Powerwall, are they normally referred to a third-party company to install it?
That seems to be the case. That's right. I think Ramy, are you aware of which company that is, Ramy?
Yeah, I think it's Empower, if I'm not mistaken. But that was sort of the. I can confirm that. I can confirm that with you, John.
And I think Signature Electric has put some in as well. So I'm not quite sure what the criteria is there, but let us know.
Yeah. So from what I understand, and again, we don't actively sell energy products through the stores yet. I know that obviously it's something that a lot of people have been asking for. We've been asking for it for a little while too. But hopefully we'll have more on that soon. But I can confirm exactly sort of how the process works. I know that there's a few people on the call who actually have Powerwalls based on ordering them through the Tesla website. So what happens is you place an order, reservation or an order right on the Tesla Powerwall site, and a third party will reach out to you, but the actual contractor will not be that third party. So the distributor is different from the actual subcontractor that might be installing it at your property.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So some more questions with regards to future Ontario locations, actually. So we are, of course, actively looking to expand across Ontario. We opened up our Kitchener sales side of the Kitchener-Waterloo location a few months ago. It's a brand new team there. We're very excited to have them on board. And of course, as Dustin mentioned earlier as well, expanding service too across the country. So there's no official news to announce as far as any imminent locations, but please, our ask is, I'm going to repeat it here as Stephen and Dustin mentioned as well. If you have any contacts that are in the commercial real estate sector that might have properties, if you know of anybody that might be looking or might have properties available, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to connect with them and take a look. We are actively looking to expand all the time. Are there any plans to better educate new owners regarding supercharging etiquette and home charging? So, on the sales side here and the delivery side, we do our best to educate customers on all aspects of charging. Tesla has also made some really cool orientation videos and support videos that, because of COVID, we are doing completely contactless deliveries now, where customers are oriented with the cars before they even come in a series of beautifully shot support videos that teach all sorts of the basic and more detailed functions of the car, including home charging, including supercharging, how to operate things like the charge port, whether it's from the cell phone app, from the charge port itself, from inside the UI, from the charge connector. So I'm actually curious if there's any feedback that you have as far as what we could educate new owners on more specifically with regards to supercharging etiquette. We would be more than happy to take a look and provide that feedback.
Well, I think Steve's more or less covered that. Other than if you stay past the car being charged, you're going to be charged idle fees. I think people aren't aware of that. But I have a question related to that, Rami.
Sure.
Do they get an email prior to delivery saying, here's a link to the videos? I know the videos were in the app. I'm not sure if they're still there, but how are people, because we still get comments on a regular basis that they had a 5-minute delivery, they didn't know how to operate things in the car, and maybe they're not aware of or didn't see communication to go look for these videos.
Yeah, absolutely. So this actually might be a good opportunity to sort of walk everybody through what our delivery process looks like currently. And I know a lot of people on the call didn't go through our most recent delivery process, but some of you may have if you're newer Tesla Owners Club members. But as of several months back, of course, we've had to slightly change the way we do things. So previously, we used to offer and actually go through quite detailed in-person orientations on the vehicles. Most recently, what we do is exactly what you mentioned, John. Actually, if anyone's received an email from me personally recently, you'll see that a link to those orientation videos is actually in my email signature permanently, but more actively for every new customer that's taking delivery of the car. We're in constant communication with them ahead of their delivery, just prepping them for everything that they need to prepare for, whether it's any payment that's required on pickup of the vehicle, void check, making sure all the documents are in order. But most importantly, it's sending them the links to the support videos ahead of time. And the support videos are it's a cool series called Meet Your Tesla. If you actually type that into Google, you'll get the link that's on the website there. It's called Meet Your Tesla, the video series. And we send that to every single customer before delivery. And actually, in all cases, we also even send them to customers that are coming for contactless test drive appointments as well. Because now our test drive appointments are completely touchless too. So when a potential customer arrives, they arrive at the store in the parking lot from outside. They give us a call, and of course, Tesla being Tesla, we can remotely unlock and start the vehicles for them. The cars have been prepped and sanitized ahead of time, of course, and staged appropriately. But the videos are sent to them in an automated email as well as by their Tesla advisor before they come in to test drive and also to take delivery. Of course, we would love to be able to make it a much more intimate experience as we used to be able to do, but I think the world's a little bit different now. So our best tool that we have is making sure that expectations are set correctly and that customers are watching those videos before they come in. That's sort of been our best friend there.
Okay.
All right. So can FSD be transferred to a subsequent vehicle for leased vehicles? I think if anyone listened to the most recent earnings call, Elon kind of put this one to rest. The FSD cannot be transferred to subsequent vehicles, whether they're being leased or purchased any other way. And I think Elon mentioned that we should be seeing a subscription-based model for FSD coming out shortly. So stay tuned for that. I think that'll be quite an attractive way. And I understand, obviously, customers who are leasing are really only leasing for 3 or 4 years. May not necessarily make sense for everybody to spend now over $10,000 on the full self-driving package, as advanced as it's become over the years. But I think that subscription model that should be coming out later this year would be a huge benefit to a lot of new owners for sure. Is there a plan to add more beta testers? Is there a way to apply to be an alpha or beta tester? So a lot of you, I think, may know this. Some of you may even be in the program, but this is actually something that we call the early access program. The early access program is made up of several thousand Tesla owners, such as yourselves, and was really an invitation-based program as part of a previous phase of the referral program that we used to have. So the referral program has really changed a few times over the years. You know, there used to be different tiers where if you referred multiple new Tesla owners, even referred yourself, you'd be able to get a set of wheels or a home Tesla wall connector, or even power walls, unlock secret levels to get discounts on a Roadster 2.0 at some point. And one of the phases was actually getting an invitation to the early access program. So there's several thousand customers in that program now. There is not a plan or an option to be able to apply to be a beta tester. I think right now the plan or the program is relatively full with the several thousand owners. But if that were to change at some point in the future, I'm sure there would be no shortage of owners, including our own Tesla employees who are owners as well, that would love to be part of that program. So I really hope that becomes available. I think the more people in the tent, the better. But it's really up to the engineering team on that.
Randy, real quick, we have a sort of a group of Tesla presidents that communicate together in conjunction with Fremont, and that beta program on the FSD. They invited a lot of the presidents from different clubs around the world, and they're some of the ones that you see sharing the videos. And that's a new thing that Tesla is allowing, is these videos to be shared only by certain people. So I can't guarantee it, but it's possible when it comes into Canada. Maybe they'll ask me. I don't know, but I do communicate with them on a regular basis, and we see all the people that are clubs of various U.S. presidents that have it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sort of leads into right into the next question there. Any insight as to when the beta FSD that we're currently seeing in all these YouTube videos will be made available in Ontario? And I think, John, you answered it perfectly right there. So it is a very select group of early access testers that even have access to the beta FSD. So that's a smaller subset than the overall early access program.
Correct. And also, I think, though, we're under regulations for approval in Canada before they can even be allowed here. So we're waiting for government approval for the FSD period, the full FSD.
Yeah, I think there will be obviously more sort of to announce later on from the engineering side or from the policy side. But I would love to see that in our neck of the woods too. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah. Especially sort of, with our seasons being a little bit different than maybe some of the seasons on the West Coast in the States. I think it'd be great. I think Dustin covered some of this as well, and maybe Mike earlier. Option to retrofit heated steering wheel on Model 3 under review, as Dustin mentioned. So maybe at some point in the future, plans to offer MCU upgrades for Model 3 and Y. No plans that we're aware of currently. I think this was asked maybe in relation to some of the video games or some of the items in the entertainment screen opening up a little bit slowly, but I would bet that there's obviously a lot more room for software updates to be made as well, but hard MCU upgrades, we'll sort of have to wait and see if that becomes.
Randy, I just saw something today that someone in Canada had an email come from Tesla. They bought full self-driving on one of the earlier Model 3s, which is basically the 2.5 MCU, and they were sent an email to schedule to come in and get the MCU 3 upgrade, but only if they prepaid for FSD and didn't have the capability. So that's now started.
Yeah, that's right. And that's been around for actually quite a while, the hardware 3 in particular with regards to FSD. So with regards to that, even on the sales side, we've had, that option before all of the cars came with hardware 3, that if for anybody that had pre-purchased or that had already paid for full self-driving, that would include the hardware 3 upgrade for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does the 7-seat interior Model Y have the same interior as the made in China Model Y? So as Mike mentioned, our 7-seat interior Model Ys will be arriving for delivery very shortly over the next couple of weeks as we head into March, which is very, very nice. And actually, we have now received our 7-seat interior demo vehicles. So I know we have one at Oakville, and some of the other stores across the GTA have their 7-seat interior Model Y test drive or showroom vehicles as well. So if you'd like to see that, definitely call your local store, make an appointment to go in and check it out. I think it's super, super awesome that we have it now. And we've had that for just a few days, so it's super fresh. Actually, the questions came in before our 7-seater did at Oakville. So fun. In terms of whether it'll have the same interior as the made in China Model Y, I can say that it does not. So right now, the 7-seaters that we've received as our fleet and demo vehicles do not have that additional interior trim that we've seen in the made in China Model Y photos. Will Tesla be offering a CCS combo charging adapter? Maybe a question for Steve or Dustin, but I don't believe we'll be seeing that. I can't really speculate as far as whether it's under review or not. Dustin or Steve might have better insight, but not that we've heard, not coming anytime soon. This one was a really interesting one, and I've actually spoken to quite a few owners about this, especially as it relates to software updates as cars are being picked up by new owners. Why does Tesla not deliver new vehicles with the latest software version installed? So this is actually a bit of a complex answer, but I think really easy to sort of wrap your mind around. Software updates that are released to cars are released in waves. So not every VIN will receive the same software update at the exact same time. And of course, the personal schedules of new owners who are picking up their vehicles doesn't always really, align or coincide with when the software updates become available. So, for example, if a car is being delivered today or tomorrow and a new software update just came out, and if that VIN just happens to be in the batch of VINs that's receiving that latest update as one of the early waves, then that software update may have already been installed on the vehicle that's getting picked up now. But sometimes the software update doesn't become available on a car until delivery day specifically, or even until right after you pick up a vehicle. So, I can say if there's a software update available on a vehicle and we catch it before we have fully detailed and prepared the car to be picked up, then we will go ahead and install that update. But in some cases, the update becomes available on the vehicle after it's been, sort of gone through our local inspection and detailing and prep process, after we've staged the vehicle and it's been, parked and ready for the customer to come and take delivery of it. Sometimes it becomes available at that moment. So, after we have, locked up the car and finished with our end of the process. And so the customer might see it for the very first time when they first get into the vehicle to drive it home for the very first time. And sometimes the software update won't become available until right after they drive it home and connect it to their own Wi-Fi. So I hope that sheds a little bit of insight into that as far as why we don't always deliver vehicles with the latest software update installed. And it really just has to do with the release schedule from, the quote unquote mothership as different VINs get them in waves. Are Model 3 front seats available for purchase as standalone items? This is definitely a Dustin question. Parts and service, I think, would be best suited to answer that. And actually, I think this question came in reference to the Sandy Munro interview most recently with Elon, where he said the Model 3 seats are super comfortable. And I think if anyone owns a Model 3 or a Model Y and has driven in those seats for a long time, you would absolutely agree. I love the Model 3 and Y seats. I won't be able to say in particular, but if you are looking to buy a Model 3 or Model Y seat, and you have a Model 3 and Model Y, I think that's the only way you'd be able to do it. Of course, you wouldn't be able to buy a Model 3 seat and install it in a Model S or a Model X. Only if you have a Model 3, you'd be able to buy Model 3 parts, and likewise for any other vehicle that you own.
So I think the answer would be to check at the service center, right?
Check with service. Yeah. If you require a Model 3 seat, and not to mention, actually, a lot of the seat components are able to be installed in pieces too. So for example, if you simply have a rip or a tear in a particular piece of the fabric or the synthetic material that's covering the seat, in a lot of cases, we can just replace the cover. You don't necessarily have to replace the entire seat or even that portion of the cushion. So you'd be pretty surprised as to how many components we can replace individually without necessarily having to do the full seat.
The other thing, Rami, I'm not sure, but my interpretation was, I'm wondering if they're asking if they can buy a seat, period, to use outside of their car. I don't know whether that's what they were meaning, but.
If I would love a Model 3 office chair, I would absolutely love that. I think that would be a great thing to have. But I reach out to service at Oakville. You can email oakvilleservice@tesla.com, and you know what? I can actually ask once I'm back in the office tomorrow, and maybe John, I'll send you a text.
Sure. Okay.
All right. And finally, I'm going to pull Mike back in for these ones. What are the current leasing and financing options for Model 3 in Canada? As I think many of you know, they actually change on a monthly basis depending on the lenders. So the lenders review borrowing rates, especially for financing, on a month-to-month basis. And sometimes the rates don't change. Sometimes the rates go down. Sometimes the rates increase. But it really does depend on our lending partners. And currently we have RBC, Scotiabank, and Bank of Montreal as our three lending partners. But Mike, why don't you jump in and talk a little bit about the rates that we have for delivery this month?
Well, and guys, I think the question may not be just about the rates. Certainly address that, but maybe, is there maximum terms? Maybe confirm, which I think is the case, that you cannot get a purchase option on them. That type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Mike's going to cover all that.
Thanks, guys. John, you made a great point. So the thing to note about leasing a Model 3, and I'll talk about Model Y here as well, because they're similar in that aspect. You cannot purchase a Model 3 or Model Y at the end of the lease. Those vehicles must be returned. That is not the case for Model S and X at this point. You can still buy those out. We don't know if that's the case for these refreshed Model S and X. We're planning to find that out soon, but that's the biggest thing about leasing a Model 3 or Model Y. You have to return the vehicle at the end of the term. The terms that we offer, 2-year, 3-year, and 4-year. Mileage allowance is really anything that you choose between 16, 20, and 25,000 kilometers per year over the term that you choose. Interest rates, like Rami mentioned, they tend to change every so often. For leasing, they change depending on the trim level that you lease. So a Model 3 Center Range Plus interest rate for leasing is different than a Model Y Performance, for example. So if you were looking to find out the exact rate for the trim that you're interested in, please reach out either to myself or your nearest Tesla showroom and chat with a Tesla advisor. Let them know which vehicle trim you're interested in. We can send you a quote for that as well. For financing, Rami mentioned it. We have 3 lenders: RBC, Scotia, and BMO. Their interest rates, they change monthly, and they're only locked in when you take delivery. Right now, they're at about 2.6 over 96 months, which is the longest term. If you do a shorter term of about 72 months or less, you get a bit of a lower interest rate at about 2.2%. All of these lenders offer open term loans, so you can end them early without any penalty or pay them off on an accelerated timeline as well. When it comes to the two options, we tend to see more clients go with financing just because the interest rates are a little bit lower, and you have the option to own the car at the end of the term, whereas leasing, you have to return the car. But yeah, great questions there, guys. John, any questions about purchasing options there that I may have missed?
No, all good.
Just one thing I did want to mention to the group here, John, I know you and I talked about this as soon as it became news a year or two ago, but the federal government actually has a fantastic write-off incentive for business owners to buy electric vehicles. So as many of you know, the Model 3 Standard Range Plus has a $5,000 federal rebate that it qualifies for an individual that's buying, an individual or a business that's purchasing that car. However, a business that's buying any Tesla at all, including the most recent Model S's, can actually write off up to $55,000 of the purchase price of that car, whether they're financing or purchasing cash, in the first year that the vehicle is put into use. So if you have the plans of registering a Tesla to your business, definitely reach out to your accountant and follow up with them on that, because the write-off for a regular gas vehicle is about $30,000. But for an EV such as a Tesla, it's nearly double at $55,000. So a lot of our business clients have been taking advantage of that, and it's a fantastic thing. All right, so now we can actually get into and yes, this is Michael's email address, by the way. So if you like, take a little screenshot of that or a snapshot of that with your phone, and reach out to Michael if you have any specific sales related questions. Obviously, we're over at the Oakville store, but a lot of you may live in Toronto or different areas. And by all means, you can reach out to your local showroom as well. We've got lots of talented.
Rami, just real quick, people are asking if you know what month of manufacturer the Y and the 3 had the exterior sound option added. Do you have any idea when that started?
Off the top of my head, no, but I can confirm that. I can confirm that for you.
But are you delivering cars with that now?
For the exterior sound?
Yeah.
Yes, the new boombox feature. Yes, we've been delivering that for the past, I want to say, I can find out the exact dates for you.
But they are happening now, so you just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. We've been delivering them for a few weeks like that, actually, at the very, very least, with the ice cream truck sounds and the different songs that you can play. We've definitely had customers pick.
Have you heard anything further about? I know in Europe they just announced an autopilot option where it wasn't full self-driving, but it was more than the basic autopilot. Have you heard any discussions about that here?
Have not heard anything about that for Canada. No.
Okay.
All right. Great. So let's get into the super fun stuff. Model S refresh. All right. As you know, the Model S and Model X, I think, have recently undergone the biggest change to them, frankly speaking, since the cars were first launched. There was obviously a minor front bumper and headlight change, autopilot hardware change as we went from Autopilot 1 to Autopilot 2. Over the past few years, we added things over the years like dual motor. We added air suspension as an option, and then later as standard. Then we switched the air suspension over to our new Raven suspension, and these are the latest updates to the Model S. So I thought it might be fun to sort of put the outgoing version and the incoming version side by side here from front and back, just so we could take a look together and see what the differences are if you haven't seen them yet. So on the left-hand side here, we've got the sort of the front three-quarter angle of the car. Really shows you the changes made to the front bumper. So on the bottom image, you can see a bit more chrome for the louvers, a bit more shaped louvers on the edges and the corners of the front bumper there. Whereas those corner louvers have actually been shifted to be super narrow and super streamlined now, underneath the horizontal fog lights, which are a new addition on the front fascia of the latest design. And then the front air intake, the main air intake in the center, has slightly undergone a shift in shape. in size, as well as the front splitter at the very bottom of the car is now longer than it used to be too. Very nice changes made there. Overall, there is now no longer any chrome on the vehicle. So Model S and Model X have now been brought up to speed with Model 3 and Y, and they have removed the chrome brightwork that was there on the previous versions and replaced it with the matte black door handles around the windows as well. And on the right-hand side, we can see that's been the same on the rear end of the car. That chrome strip that was on the trunk lid is now matte black as well. The only chrome pieces on the car now are actually the logos, according to the photo. So it's just the Tesla T symbol on the front and rear of the car, as well as the badging that'll be on the car will be the only chrome pieces. You can see there's been some minor changes to the rear diffuser or valence of the car as well. So slight redesign in the shape of the design, and we haven't confirmed this for sure yet because I think we still need to see it in person. But it might be a difference whether it's either gloss black, similar to the brightwork update and the door handle update, or whether it's a satin finish. So we're still waiting to find out once we actually see the cars in person. The wheels were redesigned as well on the exterior. You know, the Tempest wheels are still standard, but there's a new version of the Arachnid wheels now that you can upgrade to. And I believe on the Plaid and the Plaid Plus version, there are now carbon sleeved rotors as well, which is very exciting and obviously a super high performance upgrade to see.
Say that again.
Carbon sleeved rotors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Remy, have you heard anything about people are saying that potentially the Plaid Plus is going to have some exterior body changes, wider fenders and all that? Is that just speculation still?
I've seen those rumors as well. Obviously, there's nothing that we know on our end with regards to that. Obviously, the Plaid Plus is also coming out much later in the year. We are expecting to deliver the Model S long range as well as the Plaid shortly over the next month or two. However, the Plaid Plus is going to come out way later this year.
And just to confirm, no changes in any dimensions anywhere.
Actually, the rear of the Model S and X have gotten, I can confirm the Model X has gotten wider. The Model X in the trunk now can actually fit an entire set of golf clubs horizontally. So the interior of the Model X trunk has gotten wider. The exterior dimensions, I would have to confirm that. We haven't received the full dimensional specs of the car yet. So I'm sure the website will get updated as time goes by, but right now I think Tesla's focusing very heavily on the most sort of prominent headline grabbing updates, like the steering wheel and the horizontal screen. So I'm sure we'll get the dimension updates soon. Okay. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room here, which is the yoke steering wheel. There were several questions that were posed about the yoke. I can say with confidence that Tesla is 100% committed to the yoke. There are no plans to introduce a different type of steering wheel. Keep in mind, there's already lots of precedents for yoke steering wheels currently in the market, not necessarily for sort of everyday consumer vehicles, but yokes have been around for a decade plus in many supercars. And of course, with a car with supercar-like performance, there's no reason that the Model S should be any different there. And of course, what would Tesla be if Tesla wasn't making waves and doing something exciting and controversial? I remember back in 2012, even having a simple touchscreen in the car was quite controversial, and now here we are. So it's pretty amazing to see. One thing I will personally point out, though, there is one big difference between the yoke steering wheel that's in production now for these refreshed Model S's and X's and the yoke steering wheel that many have seen in the Roadster and Cybertruck prototypes. The difference is those yokes don't have the top portion connecting the top left and right side of the yokes. So this production version of the yoke is technically a complete from the top as well. So just one thing to keep in mind there. And of course, we'll have a full functioning horn, airbags, everything that a steering wheel needs to have. Of course, there are some questions about how the shifter will work without the stock on the new S's and X's. And Elon actually alluded to this a little bit. Well, we can't get into too much detail about this particular piece at this time. However, the intention is that the car will be smart enough to select the drive modes for you. Now, there is the ability to manually select the drive modes via the touchscreen. Additionally, there's a fail-safe in the event that the touchscreen isn't functional. But that particular part we'll have to learn more about once the cars actually arrive. We don't have too much details besides that at this point. One interesting thing that actually a client of mine who I was talking to a couple of days ago about the refresh Model S and X pointed out, actually a lot of cars don't have stocks anymore either. And they have dials for shifters or buttons for shifters. So, there is precedence there for not having a particular shifter style like we've been used to in the Model S and X as well. And then a question about the screens of the vehicle. Obviously, the Model S and X now have a 17-inch horizontally laid out screen. It's a landscape orientation and super heavily focused on media, screen real estate, as well as keeping the sort of binnacle dash, the screen that's right behind the steering wheel, which is now more visible, not having the top portion of the steering wheel as well. The main screen of the vehicle, the large 17-inch touchscreen, does tilt left and right. So it does have left and right tilt ability. The rear screen does not tilt or detach. So the smaller screen that's in the second row is in a fixed position. Okay. There was a question about how the HVAC works. I think it's very obvious in the front row where the HVAC system has now been brought up to date with the Model 3 and Model Y mechanism. And actually in the rear, it'll be a little bit similar as well. So let me shift over to the photos of the back. So similar to the 3 and Y, Model S and X is going to have the air blade in the front, which is the long sort of horizontal sweeping vent that goes from the left to right side of the car, but also in the back screen. So if you can sort of see it there on the picture that's right on the right, the screens will actually be reflecting air from the air blade that's located below and above the rear screen. So it works similarly to the air blade that's in the front of the vehicle. And Tesla is sort of using the screens as a reflector for the air blade. All right, so I just wanted to pause there to see if anyone has any questions, or John, maybe yourself, about the interior there.
No, there's nothing specific, anything more than what you've got.
Sure. And then obviously, I think everybody can appreciate, I think that the level of just beautification that's gone on to the interior of the Model S and X, it's just become a world class. I love the rear seats especially. Of course, there is still the ability for a full bench in the back. It's not as flat as it once was. The center armrest in the rear also houses wireless charge ports. And of course, it folds up and down. The second row smaller screen, the entertainment screen, has 2 USB charge ports underneath it. And of course, the center console for the driver has been brought up to speed with the Model 3 and Model Y interiors the Model 3 and Model Y interiors as well. Actually, the Model 3 interior, I should say, correction there. Having the sort of the wireless charging tray right under the screen at the perfect orientation. And some little tidbits, I think, for everybody. Tesla's the design team in California has really taken a lot of care with the interiors here. One little Easter egg, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the Model S now officially will have door pockets, which is, I think, a fantastic update for us all. Coat hooks will be there on the vehicles in the rear, and even smaller things. For example, the grain of the wood. If you can see in the photo that's sort of on the left-hand side, the sliding lid that opens up for the storage, the wood paneled sliding lid, is actually cut from the exact same piece of wood that the side material that is fixed on the left and right sides of the center console is cut from. So the grain actually seamlessly continues between both pieces, two of which are fixed, and the one in the center slides back and forth. So I think the design studios and Franz's team have done a beautiful job, and we're all really excited to see the cars in person once they arrive. There were a couple of questions with regards to heat pump. Do the Model S and X have the new heat pump? The answer is yes. The new Model S and X will officially have the heat pump in there. Super exciting. And then final question here was, is it true that the new S and X now charge faster at a supercharger? Yes, that is true. And this is actually listed on the website as well. So even though the Model S and X are now capable of, the full 250 kilowatt charging, which brings it fully up to spec with V3, which is fantastic. They can now specifically charge, as the website states, up to 200 miles in 15 minutes. So why, if they can both charge at 250 kilowatts, can they also charge at a faster rate than the Model 3 and Y? And the answer is because of the size of the battery pack. This is just purely a function of the size. Because the battery packs are larger on the S and the X, the supercharging doesn't taper off until later, as the battery pack has a longer way to go to actually reach closer to the end of its charge cycle, or its charge session, I should say. Basically, it can maintain the 250 kilowatt rate for longer than the Model 3 and Y can, purely as a function of the size of the battery pack. So I hope that that answers that question adequately. But those were all of the questions we had with regards to the Model S and X. So, John, if you have any from Pigeonhole, you have to answer.
Yeah, I just want to confirm. I did see this. I think it was in Elon's presentation or something, that the S and X now have a lithium-ion 12-volt battery. So,
yeah, I think that came from the Sandy Munro interview. That's right.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
He did confirm that.
So that should, hopefully they won't have to be replaced as often as the regular lead acid. Just looking through here to see on our Pigeonhole thing, there's many more questions. Sorry, just bear with me here. People are saying, not related to this, that I haven't seen this myself, there's only 4 videos they're saying on that screen tutorial page. 4 videos in the on-screen tutorial page. I'm not sure if they're talking about on the website.
I think they may be talking about the in-car tutorials. So we actually do have a UI built in now in the, I believe it's in the theater, where right next to YouTube and Netflix, there is a Tesla tutorials page as well. I believe there should be more than 4 videos, but I will look at that tomorrow when I get in, and if there aren't, I can send that straight up to where it needs to go.
Okay.
That should effectively be pulling up the same videos that we have on the online support page.
Okay. I think that's it. Other than the rest are sort of service related. Some of these I've sent a text to Dustin on. I think that's it from your aspect. Some people are still objecting to the steering wheel, but regardless, you're saying that that's what they get. So whether you like the steering wheel or not, that's that's what it's coming with. So just in conclusion, somebody else asked a question about our clothing that's coming out versus the Tesla clothing. And, is it going to be a high quality and more options? And the question is, the answer is that's why it's taking so long. We want to make sure it's really high quality. Tesla's limited us to only 6 or 7 items initially. They don't want too many and have it all convoluted with all the different clubs all over the world. So hopefully you'll be pleased with the clothing that we see coming out, and we'll have different clothing in the winter versus the summer as options. But other than that, Rami and Michael, thanks very much for your time. Here it is after 9 o'clock. Appreciate you guys staying on late with us here. I want to thank again Steve Hitchinson and Dustin Leach for talking to us. Kind of unprecedented that we've had all 3 teams on at the same time. So we appreciate that. And the only thing I would say to you, Rami, if you could keep me appraised of when these new refresh vehicles are coming in, so we can make sure our members are aware of it, so they want to see them in person. And as I mentioned to Jamie, I also want to thank Jamie Wolf very much, who the guys report to. She really helped put this all together. But maybe we can get in and do an advanced quick look at them and do a video or something when they first come in. So she indicated that she thought the demo units of the S and X will arrive before customer delivery units.
Yeah, it could be. Of course, she would have a little bit more insight into when the actual very first units are arriving than I would. But I would love that. I think that'd be a fantastic idea.
Yeah. So
having the cars come in and maybe doing another event. We'll see. Yeah,
perfect. And then again, as Rami and Michael said, the Model Y 7-seat is out. So please contact your local store, and I'm sure they'll show it to you. So that's it, guys. I think I covered all the questions that were asked to the club, as well as to the Tesla staff. Stay tuned for a March meeting. I think we're going to feature some of our sponsors on one of our next meetings. We've got a meeting scheduled in April that we're going to tie into Earth Day. We've got some exciting ideas there. So, COVID being out there, certainly it's changed the dynamics of our club and us getting together with you. But hopefully this is helping us stay in touch with each other, and especially helps people outside of the GTA connect with the club and be up to speed on what's going on and give them some interesting material. So again, folks, thanks very much for everybody. Any questions? You've got my email, jdixon@teslaownersclub.ca. A couple of people, we weren't sure about the specifics of their questions to Dustin, so you could send that information to me with your VIN and I'll pass it on. And again, guys, thanks very much. And everybody have a great night.